Okay, so now we're ready to get started on our Inkscape project here, the Pure Vector project. And I've selected a photograph. I've imported this, okay? And I've set up a couple things here just to kind of speed this up. If you look over here in my layers, and if you remember, the shortcut is Shift-Control-L, and all the shortcuts are still done with the Control button, not the Command, despite the fact that it's a Mac. This program was set up for PCs and it still is that way, unlike GIMP. Okay, so I have imported my photograph and I have named it photograph. I have created some colors here. There's my colors, my color palette over on the left, which is an analogous color set, meaning they're similar to each other. I've set up a layer for that. And I have a skin base and a hair base. Now we're going to get back to that in a second. Now one of the things about Inkscape that is incredibly easy to do is to get onto a layer and then start working, adding some, images, shapes, whatever, and then forget what layer you're on and add them onto the wrong thing. In order to stop that from happening, you'll notice we have the eyeball, there's a lock, and then a name of the layer. You're going to lock your layer. When you lock the layer, you cannot do anything to it, and this keeps you from accidentally drawing on that layer. Do this, okay? This is incredibly easy to do. I did it a couple times setting up my demo, alright? Now the other thing is we're going to do a little bit of navigation on here. Now navigation in Inkscape is a little bit different, but it's pretty easy. If you hold your control button, if you over your picture here, hold your control button and use your scroll wheel front and back, you will zoom in and out. Okay, makes sense, cool. If I use just my scroll wheel and go up and down without holding anything, the picture goes up and down. If I want to go left and right, I hold down my shift button and use my scroll wheel and it goes left and right. Okay? Takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's actually quite functional. Alright, so I'm going to back off here. Now I'm going to work in here on her face and hair. So one of the things that I could do is I could say, you know what, I would like to have my colors over here where I can look at them easily. So I'm going to go to my colors layer. Right now it is unlocked. Okay, if it was locked I couldn't do anything to it, so it's unlocked. Let's say that I would like to move all of these colors. Now there's a tool up here called the selection tool. Selects and transforms, okay? So this selects things you want to work with. Now I could sit here and click on this thing and then drag everything over individually, but that would take forever. I don't really want to do that. If I use this select tool and click and drag around these objects, everything that is completely within that selection will be selected, and then I can move that over here and have that more convenient, okay? Now what I'll do is I will relock my color layers so I can't mess with it and move on from there. Now, so let's move on to Natalie here and getting started with this. So I'm going to do some things here. I'm going to put in a base skin tone, and you want to make some decisions about what's going to be in front of what. I am going to make the skin tone in the back. I'm going to put the hair in front of that, and I'm going to put the clothing actually behind the hair as well. So for me, I'm going to have skin in the back, clothing in the middle, hair in the front. Doesn't really matter which one you do. Something you're going to have to draw a clean edge for. So just decide what you want to do. So as I said, if I have something in the back and I can cover it up, it's no big deal. So you notice my skin base here is locked. That's because I already did it. But this is what I did as my skin base. Using this light blue here. Notice it covers everything. Notice that it does not carefully go along the edges. I don't care, because later on the hair is going to cover it up. I'll show you how that works. So there's my skin base. If we want to see what this actually looks like, make sure my skin base layer is selected. Opacity down at the bottom here. Slide it down. And you can see how the hair is going to overlap it here. So it took me about 30 seconds to get the skin base in, because I don't care what it looks like. It's no big deal. Take this thing back up, and I'm going to make that invisible. Now the hair base, the hair is going to go in front, so I had to do some things with that. So I was a little more careful with that one. So for my hair base, not completely done, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. Now when I draw this in, I drew this in using my path tool. The path tool is this one over here. Okay, that's the path tool. And I drew this in, and I'm going to come back to this. But as I drew this in, I did two things. One, I zoomed in closely, okay, so I can see what I'm doing. The second thing that I did with this is that I dropped the opacity down so that if I filled up a shape, I could still see through it. Okay, you know what I just did? I'm on the wrong layer. I think I'm still on the skin layer. The opacity didn't move. Easy to do, right? Click on the hair layer, hair base. There we go. That's working like I expected it to. Okay, so some things I've done. Unlike the path tool that you guys use in GIMP, this path tool, it always makes a shape. It's not a plan, it always makes a shape. So what I'm going to do, if you notice here on the hair, what I've done is I filled in the base, and then I'm going to add some strands later on, but I don't do those first. So I don't do just a pure outline. I kind of do the bulk of the hair, if you want to think of it that way, and then these strands I'm going to put in as individual pieces. Since I'll have no outline and they'll be exactly the same color, you won't be able to tell that they're separate. Okay? Now, so I drew this in with the path tool, and then in order to see all my anchors and such, what I'm going to do is, hold on, I have to select it first. Click. I just clicked and selected the hair. Whoop, too much. You can see this box has gone around the hair. That means it's selected. Select it with the select tool. Now right here, this is my edit path. Okay, there you go. Now you can see all the anchors. In Inkscape they call them nodes. You can call them whichever. I will accept both. That's not a problem. And you can see the rest of it is kind of similar to what we've done before. You can see I've got the curves in here. This works exactly the same way. If I come in here and grab this line and pull it out, it makes a curve. If I click on the anchor, I get these handles. All that sort of stuff is the same. Okay, that's nothing different from what you're used to, so not a problem. As far as editing goes, there's a couple things I can do. You don't get the shortcut stuff like we did with GIMP, but these things are still very versatile. So if I have this, for instance, here, and you can see I've got my handle here and a handle out here. If I have this selected, there are a bunch of options along the top. For instance, if I click on this one, it says make selected nodes symmetric, meaning that the two handles will be exactly opposite of each other. I really don't want that, okay? I'm going to Control Z that, or if I had done that and moved on, I can click this and turn it back into a corner like it was before. So now once again, I can take my handle, and I can move this back to where I want. Let's see one that'll make a little bit more sense perhaps. If I came in, let's see here. Let's say I had this one. I didn't want this to be a sharp corner like that. There are also ones I can make this symmetric. I like that one better. There is one that smooths them out. Okay, and this will smooth out your lines. Once you click this though, it's not going to let you unsmooth it. It's going to kind of keep lock you into that decision. So you might not want to do that. That's why I like this make them symmetric or symmetrical, so that both the anchors are the same distance, because then I still have the anchors. It'll still let me play with them if I want to. Okay, at least I can move them forward and back a little bit, which gives me some more freedom with where I go with it. Okay, but honestly, I don't really want that one either. So I'm going to go back to making that a corner, and then kind of keep control of this thing. Hold on. Now I did it. Missing the handle. Not quite sure why it won't let me grab that one. Okay, well, I'm going to go from this end for right now. But so you can use those things, but understand that you do sort of lock yourself into some decisions, which you may or may not want to do later on. Alright, so these are the basics as far as setting your stuff up goes. Remember, lock your layers down when you're not using them. Super, super important. It is really easy to lose track of where you are. The second thing, navigation. Okay, remember, use your shift tool. You can use your scroll wheel up and down. Control goes in and out. Shift goes left and right. All that good stuff. And remember, when you're filling things like hair or anything that has loose stuff coming off the side, do your base or the bulk of that thing first, and then I'm going to add these on. So I can show you how. Here, hair base, okay? So I'm going to come in here, path tool. It should still be on the same color. I'm going to zoom in here, and if I wanted to add this on, now this is going to look kind of odd right now. because the shape, I have some things that are overlapped. Go to my Edit, Paths by Nodes, and grab this. There we go. Move that out. Move that out. Give this a bend. I'm just going to cover that up. I don't really care. As long as it covers it up, you won't be able to tell the difference. And there we go. So I can add pieces onto this later on. Okay, so for now, that will be all.